Welcome to Bridging the Gap. This is a show where we meet extraordinary young people and explore their amazing journeys, where they have dreamt big, challenged convention, and redefined what success means to them. I'm your host, Sheila, and today I'm on this side of the gap. And I'm thrilled to have Siddharth Gupta with me to bridge the gap. Siddharth is a musician, a composer, and a sound designer, very different to where he came from. Siddharth's journey is all about finding his own voice, embracing his passion, and living the life that he wants to live. Welcome, Siddharth. It's such a pleasure to have you here today, and I'm really looking forward to bridge the gap because in my world where I came from, conversations about a child taking to music would be fraught with nervousness, angst, fear, fights at home. So I really want to understand a little about coming from the background you did. What is it that took you onto this path, and what was life like before you made this choice?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here. I think when I grew up, I didn't really think about music at all until I was maybe 7 or 8 years old.
Okay.
It was all about films or movies or videos or stuff like that. So the first memory I actually have of music is when Kahona Pyara had released.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and my brother really wanted us all to go see that movie. And when we went there, I saw, and it was all just, the songs were incredible, the dance was incredible, and that's what just exposed me to that world of just music and dance. So it wasn't just about music. I wasn't thinking about the song. I was just thinking about, oh, this is really incredible to experience, like to see songs like Ek Pal Ka Jeena or something like that. And from then on, my Nana really, he used to play the keyboard. He was he was kind of, he played the harmonium. He was into classical music. So he taught me a bit. And he just taught me the film songs. Like he taught me the songs from Kahona Pyara. I just told him to teach me the melody. So I think that was one of my first, forays into the world. This was before I knew anything that I wanted to learn. And that was what it was.
So it was Ritik Roshan
Yeah.
and the music that got you into music.
Yeah, and my brother actually was already into dance. Like he used to dance, so I would see him. I would see him practicing to these songs because I remember when this movie came out, there was like a shift. Like everyone I knew, my age or a little older to me, they were all talking about it. They were all talking about the music, the dance. So my brother was super into it, and I just watched him do his thing. I didn't really say anything, but. Yeah, that was really exciting. It was an exciting time overall.
So you mentioned that your Nana was into music. But what about your dad and mom? Were they into music?
My mom could sing a bit. I think from my Nana only. Like I think she learned a bit when she was young. My dad was kind of tone deaf, but like even my grandfather, even my Dadaji, he was also a man of culture. Like he used to talk to me about movies, about music, about classical music a lot. So they were not musicians, but they definitely knew their stuff.
Interesting. You mentioned your brother.
Yeah,
So he used to dance, right?
yeah,
And the age difference between you was
5 years.
5 years.
Yeah.
So you would be the pesky younger brother trying
Yeah.
to get into his business.
Yeah.
So did he influence you in any way when it came to music?
I think he influenced me in everything without even, trying.
That's such a lovely thing to say about an elder brother.
I don't know if he even meant to, or if I even showed that I wasn't willingly being influenced, or I wasn't like, please tell me things.
Huh?
But I would just watch him, and I was kind of shy and silent, and I would do my own thing. but everything he did, I would kind of, that would be assimilated in me. Like, so with the dance, with the music later on, with how he was in sports and everything, like the way he spoke, everything. So I kind of used to follow him a lot. And like we lived in the same house. Like I had few friends, but he was the person who I saw most of all. So I think he did influence me without knowing it.
You had mentioned in an earlier conversation that we had that you kept playing one LP over and over and over again. What was that LP?
I think it was, this was when my dad and our family was in Bombay, and I saw Dangerous by Michael Jackson.
Okay.
Yeah, and again, it was a visual thing. I saw the LP, and the colors and the shapes and the whole photography on it was so wild and so different to anything I'd seen. And yeah, even the music, it was now going from Bollywood music to Michael Jackson. It was actually not that far apart. So I could relate. Like, it was very dancey, it was hip and new, and it had those electronic synthesizer sounds. And I was really drawn to that. So I don't know why that LP was there. Like, I don't know if my parents listened to it or, but yeah, that was influential to me for sure.
And you kept listening to it over and over again.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so you had Kaho Na Pyar Hai, you had Dangerous. And then when did it occur to you that music is something that you could make? Because most of us listen to lots of Bollywood music and we listen to a lot of Western music, but it doesn't occur to each one of us to say, I can make this music happen or I want to make music happen.
Yeah, again, this was going into sixth or seventh grade. My brother, at that time, he was in the 11th grade, and he had a band in school. And they used to come over and practice. My brother was a drummer.
Okay.
So, yeah, so
That
he.
must have been a very quiet house
Yeah.
then.
Yeah, my neighbors were not so happy. I used to remember a lot of complaints, and but yeah, my parents got him a drum kit, and he was really good. He was a really good drummer, and his friends would come over, and he'd tell me to get out of the room because we shared a room at that point. And yeah, so I'd leave, and then these people, like these older people, would come, and they had like long hair up to their shoulders, and they had, you know, this V-shaped guitar and like all sorts of cool things. And yeah, they would play music, and I would just hear them, I would watch them, and yeah, again, it drew me in, and again, it was that visual thing of, it was not just the music, it was how it is happening. So yeah, I had watched through the door.
The
And
keyhole, you mean?
no, no,
Yeah.
no. I just like, prop it open a bit, hear what,
Oh.
yeah, because he didn't want me in the room, understandably. But yeah, I think I remember his bandmates also used to, see me, and then when they would talk to me or something, I'd feel like cool that, oh, they're talking to me. But then my brother somehow acquired a guitar, which he didn't play that much, but maybe he knew how to play it a little bit. And I'd pick it up and just strum and like try to play songs that I knew. And yeah, that was the beginning.
And when you heard your brother play, and you were watching them play, did you ever feel like wanting to be a part of it?
Yeah, I think so. I wanted to play the drums actually at that point because I wanted to again emulate him. And I started playing drums. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but yeah, I started playing drums and I was actually quite good because I just watched him and figured out what he was doing. And but then he was like, "Oh, why are you playing drums? I am the one who's playing drums. So play something else, like play the guitar." And I was like, okay, I'll do that.
And you started playing the guitar by what? Going to
Yeah,
some
on
classes or something?
internet. I
Why did you not go to classes? Did you go and tell your parents, I want to play the guitar?
I did go and tell my parents, and at that time, I had gone to tennis coaching, I'd gone to football coaching, I'd gone to swimming classes and whatnot, and I'd left everything. So I'd go to the class, and so my parents, maybe they thought that I was very non-committal,
Okay.
and maybe if this was another phase or something. So they told me that if you can learn a song and show it to us and prove that you're serious about it, then we'll send you to classes or we'll get you a guitar.
And this was in the sixth grade.
Yeah, sixth or seventh grade.
So you would have been 12 or 13.
Yeah, I was 12, and then metal music was a big thing back then. So my brother had a CD and he had burned all his music onto that CD. And
Yes, I remember. We used to burn music onto CDs. Yes.
yeah, exactly. And back then, like, you only had 10 songs or something. So you couldn't have like 100 songs on a
That's
CD.
right. That's right.
So you had to pick and choose which are the 10 songs that you wanted to listen to. So he had like two or three, and I only was limited to what he listened to because I didn't know how to burn CDs. So I heard all these bands like Red Hot Chili Peppers, Nirvana, Metallica, and it was kind of fitting to go from now Bollywood music to this when I'm in seventh grade. The music was all about rebellion. The music was all about growing up, coming of age, and those kind of themes. So, yeah, I was really drawn to it. And one of those songs I just picked up, it was Nothing Else Matters by Metallica, and it's super simple. Like, anyone could play it because it's just open strings. You don't need to fret anything.
Okay.
So I learned that song, and I asked my brother for a little bit of help, but he also didn't know how to play it properly.
So it was the internet.
Yeah, it was the internet. It was just listening to it, seeing how it's played.
But did your parents know that you were doing this, or was it?
They didn't know, I don't think. And I think in my family, I think there was this thing of just letting people do their thing. They were not so concerned with like micromanaging what I'm doing, really.
And it's cool, right? The concept of you learning to prove a point that you're serious
Yeah.
about it, I think is quite a powerful image for a 12, 13-year-old.
Yeah.
I mean, something must have really stirred in you after giving up tennis coaching and football coaching and swimming classes to say that, no, this is what I'm going to do by myself and prove it.
You had these things called tabs, which basically just showed you how to play. And yeah, it took me a month or something like that. And then I went and played it to them. And I don't think they understood, but they were like, yeah, if you spend some time doing this, then
You must be serious.
you must be serious. So then they sent me to the same classes that my brother was going to. And this was Parikrama School of Music in Delhi.
Okay.
And the teacher there was Sonam Sherpa, who was the guitarist of Parikrama.
Okay.
Like
Of
pretty,
course.
yeah. So yeah,
We grew up with
Yeah.
looking at Parikrama and saying, wow,
yeah. I think they were big in the 80s.
that's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Very big in the 80s, 90s.
Yeah. And they were proper rock and roll. So I was like really, really happy about being there. And I remember before going to my first class, I didn't want to go into anything and have people think that I'm an idiot or that I don't know anything. So I learned all the chords from the internet so that when I get there, then they would not think that I'm just coming unprepared. Whereas it was my first class, so I was going there to learn. But yeah, I learned everything, and then I went there and I showed them with no musicality. I just showed them the learned chords that I had ruttoed off the internet in proper like DPS fashion or like CBSE fashion. I had just memorized them, and they were like, "Yeah, it's fine that you can play the chords, but you're not really playing music. You're just playing the chords. So that's when I started to religiously go to these classes. I would go twice a week at 2:45 or 3:45. They had slots, and I would go right after school in my school uniform, wait there, do my class, and I don't think ever missed any classes.
Interesting. So, were you a cool dude kid? Were you a nerdy kid? What kind of a kid were you in the sixth and seventh grade?
I was a very shy, nerdy kid, honestly.
Really?
Yeah, I was
With
like,
long hair,
no,
guitar, and all that?
I didn't have that at that point.
Okay.
Yeah, so I had my glasses, I had a short hair, and I was like, I had like two, three friends, and but after I started playing, I think I came into my own a bit more. Not in terms of how I looked that much, but like I stopped worrying about being accepted.
Oh,
Yeah, I stopped worrying about how I was being perceived. I got into the world, I got into playing guitar, into playing an instrument, and things just happened after that. And I didn't have to try, but I found people who I gravitated towards. So
interesting.
people who had similar tastes as me, people who were into music, I began finding those people a lot more. And yeah, I sort of found my community in seventh and eighth grade. We had a music basement in our school where everyone would go and practice. So not just people in my grade, but my seniors, my juniors. So I started talking to them a lot more, singers, instrumentalists, dancers. Everyone was kind of in the same space.
So let's just hold on to that a bit, okay?
Yeah.
You said that you were a nerdy kid who, when you started playing, you almost reached a stage of saying, I don't really care what people think. Tell me a little more about why that happened. I'm intrigued because there's a reason I'm asking. Uh, I learned to play the piano as well. And when I was young, my piano didn't do that for me, but my debating did.
Right.
When I would debate, I'd be like, I don't care a
Right.
damn about what people think. This is me. And I take a lot of pride in being me, which became like a leitmotif in my life.
Right.
I want to know what happened to you that music made you do that.
That's very interesting. I think the thing that you said about it being like you just accept that this is me. And then me playing guitar kind of became an extension of this is me. And so then whenever I was playing, I felt like the most comfortable person. And definitely for a while, I couldn't put it down. I was always playing because if I put it down, then I'm again,
Less you.
yeah, less me. So, uh, like what happened with you and debating, I think it just gave me more confidence in being who I am. So, yeah, I think it did that for me.
Did you think that because you started playing, you were growing because of the kind of people you were meeting and the kind of interactions you were having? Did you feel that you were becoming a different Siddharth?
Definitely. One of my first memories is when I started playing, and our music teacher, he took me aside and he's like, "You're good. I want to take you to this competition, and you'll be going with these 12th graders."
Oh,
And so I had my own band, and we were all seventh graders. And we would be going to this competition or showcase thing with these 12th graders who at that time were basically the best musicians I'd ever seen. So going with them, we had to go practice together. We had to go to these meetings together, and I was just watching them getting that influence from them. And they were amazing people. They were just all about the music. And being in school, I think there's so many distractions, there's so many things that are going on, that it was so helpful for me to see these people who were just all about their craft. and nothing else. It was just about practice, practice, practice. And when you're not practicing, you go to class or whatever. So, yeah, that was really helpful for me to see that they were those sort of people. So they were people I could aspire to, and
Wow. So let
yeah,
me ask you a really
yeah.
flippant question, if I may. Very often in school, when you're a guitarist and you're in a band, it's a really cool place to be, and you're seen as one of the cooler guys. So, how did that pan out with the girl attention? Were you one of those dudes in school who was like all the girls come knocking at your door?
No, not really, but there was some of that when we were playing. It definitely gave some social status, and that was helpful to me as, like, to not be awkward or something, and to kind of start seeing like girls as some people that you can talk to. So that helped for sure, but it was not like
That was not the purpose.
yeah, that was not the purpose. But yeah, it helped.
I remember I was in school and Leslie Lewis, who's one of the earliest proponents of music in India, was in school with us. He was years senior to us. I definitely had a crush on him. And if he ever watches this, I'm going to pretend I never said it, but I definitely had a crush on him. So I think guitarists in school lead to
Yeah,
crushes.
yeah. I think this question's bit uncomfortable for me now.
I can see. It's like you're pretending
Yeah,
you're not hearing it.
yeah. But yeah, it was nice.
It was not. Yeah, but I like the fact that you said it gave you social status.
Yeah,
And while it helped you, that was not the intention of doing what you did.
yeah.
I get it. I
But it
get it.
was nice. I think to have social status, to have, to be comfortable with people around you,
Absolutely.
it's really important.
Absolutely. And I think that's also so important, right? When you find something that you enjoy and you do well, it really adds so much more to you. Do you remember any specific time in those early days where you were playing and you said, "This is really what I want to do"? Did that happen?
Yeah, I think every time that we played, I felt like that, and it just magnified over time. So there's not one specific performance, but I think every time that it used to happen, every time there would be a new performance to practice for, and it would always be like a lead up. It wouldn't be just the performance. So we would have a performance, say, a month down the line, and then everyone would be excited because we'd be all in the music basement, we'd be practicing, we'd be figuring out which song to play, we'd be teaching everyone the parts, we'd be, like getting it right, learning everything. So all of that was so much fun. And I didn't want to do anything else. I wanted to skip class and just go practice.
Wow. And did you
So
ever do that?
I always, I mean, yeah, I did that a lot more in my later schooling years. Um, and obviously, I had to go home and then like study a lot more. But I skipped class because, I mean, I knew that this was what I was going to do. It was not in the classroom that, my future was not there. So I knew early on, maybe 10th grade onwards, that yeah, this is nice, but this is what I'm meant to do. So I'm going to put my time and energy over there.
Interesting. So every time you played, did your confidence build up, or do you have the same kind of nervousness every time, or every time you've played, you get better and better and stronger and more confident? The reason I'm asking you this is because I get nervous. So, for example, this podcast we're doing, every time I have to record for the podcast, I am a bundle of nerves. Now, I find it easy when the conversations start, but the lead up, like you're talking about it, the
Yeah.
lead up is like, ooh, so nervy.
Yeah.
So how's it for you?
I totally get that. And interesting story about that actually. The first performance that I ever did, 10 seconds into the performance, my guitar strap like disconnects.
Ooh.
My guitar falls to the floor as I'm playing this solo in front of those 12th graders that I was talking about. And yeah, first song, and it just falls to the floor. But yeah, I picked it up, I put it back on, I finished my performance. But then every performance after that, I'd think about that. And then I'd go and tape my guitar and I'd do this and I have a backup guitar. I'm like, what if my string breaks? What if this happens? I'd think about everything that could go wrong. And it got better as time went along. And as you said, like after it starts, then it's autopilot.
Yeah. Yeah.
But before that,
Oh.
I'm thinking about everything, you know.
Yeah.
So my hands are sweaty. But that makes me more prepared. Like, then I know everything that can go wrong. So if something does, then it's okay because I already thought about it before.
Yeah. I tend to fail safe a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I think it's okay to fail safe, but when you work yourself into such a state, I think your fail safe also could be the wrong fail safe.
right,
You know, because you're so worried about nothing going wrong, you're not spending time on how do I make it better.
right.
The focus is how do I make sure it doesn't go wrong instead of
Yeah,
saying how do I focus on how to make it better.
yeah. That's really interesting. I didn't think of it
Yeah,
like that.
because that's what really worrying or fail safing. Fail safing is something that all of us do. If there's no plan, if plan A doesn't work, then there's a plan B, then there's a plan C, then all the way to a plan Z, and then plan AA if you're into Excel.
Wow.
But I think the important thing is to say that this is the only plan. How do I give it my everything and make it work? So I have over time actually started changing my point of view and not worrying too much about plan B, plan C, and saying, this is the only way, it has to work. Let me do everything that I can do to make it work.
That's really cool. Yeah. Do you have a method or something or it's just, yeah, I'm gonna stick with this plan.
No, there is a method. So what I do is I'm an Excel person.
Right.
So most of my plans are on Excel sheets. And I feel the more detailed I become in my plans. For example, if you're doing this podcast and I'm saying, okay, what if I get thirsty? So part of my plan will be put something on the table that I can drink. And I feel the more detailed you get, the lesser the chances of your plan not working out.
Right, right.
Very often we have a plan which is some 30,000 feet plan.
Yeah.
And I think that becomes a problem because it's like saying, I want to be a great person. But dude, how are you going to get to be a great person? You need to figure out how to
Figure
be
out the small things.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. So it's about taking one step ahead of the other. And we had another guest on the show who very rightly said, and she was going through a lot of personal health crisis, and she said, every day it's about just putting one foot ahead of the other. And
Absolutely.
I think that really helps. So if that is your goal, you just keep moving towards it.
Yeah.
So, Siddharth, one of the things I want to ask you, what I've noticed is that when you talk about your music, you always talk about it in terms of group, team, band. And you said you were an introverted, nerdy kid. So, did you choose music to become a part of a community? Or is the community that gets formed because of music? So, what was the driving force? Was it the community or the music?
I think it has to be a bit of both, I think. But from the beginning, I always liked bands. I never liked the individual kind of people. My favorite musicians are the Beatles. I listen to bands like the Chili Peppers or Led Zeppelin or stuff like that. It was always about a band. And it was this sort of like, I didn't know who they were individually. It was only as a group that I knew them. And there was this thing of no ego being there. It's just one collective entity that you kind of, it was larger than a person, it was larger than an individual. So that really drew me in. And as I was growing up, it was way more common for there to be bands than for there to be individual performers, like there is now, maybe. But that influenced me a lot. And then even as I grew up in school, in college, I always wanted to be around people creating music, and I always wanted to create music with people. Um,
Nice.
I did do my own thing, and since I was introverted, I did spend a lot of time just, at home, just doing my thing. But I always knew that I wanted to be around people. I wanted to be around people making music specifically. And yeah, that always drove me a lot more to find people, even if it was not me making music with them, going to concerts, finding people who are making amazing things, talking to them, becoming friends with them, sharing perspectives, sharing music. And I think that's what sort of led to me getting more into production, more into recording, more into sound design. It became more of a team thing.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
And in a world today where everybody is so isolated, it's so heartening to know that there can be communities that get formed out of things that you do.
Yeah.
But I want to step back a bit. You come from a family of highly educated people, IIM graduates, uh, professional leaders in the areas they've worked, CEOs, investment bankers. That's the kind of background you come from. And you decided after your 12th grade to go overseas to study sound design, right? Uh, how was that taken at home?
I think for a long period, my parents kind of were in denial, maybe, or they were just thinking that okay, this is a thing that let him pursue it. And even the decision to go to the US, because you don't have to declare your major at first, you don't have to, you can just do a variety of things, you can study whatever you want to study. I think that really appealed to me. And even though I knew that I wanted to do music, I don't think I explicitly knew what I wanted to do in music. So if I would say that to my parents, they'd be like, "So what are you going to do? Are you going to be in a band? Are you going to become a musician? Are you going to what are the odds of you making it?" And I didn't know the answer myself. So, but I knew that I had to do something related to music. So I went in kind of blind, but also knowing what my path was going to be. But I knew that I had to figure it out. So, yeah.
How did you how did you reassure them? Because very often, and you were good in your studies. You were good at physics.
Yeah.
You were good at math.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you could have done econometrics,
Yeah.
been in a bank,
Yeah.
raking in the moolah, right?
Yeah.
So, you were obviously passionate about pursuing something in music. But how did you work around convincing parents? And, I'm a parent too. And it's not that we don't want our children to do one thing or the other. It's just that we are worried for them that कमालेगा क्या
Yeah.
खुद को देख पाएगा क्या
Yeah.
what will he do after we are dead and gone. Those are the questions that come to our mind. So what was the process that you followed in convincing them, in convincing is the wrong word, making them feel more comfortable with your choices?
I think with my mom, it was harder, but that whole thing of them letting me do my thing, and that really helped. And they supported me no matter what, even though we had fights about what I should do or what I should not do. I think in the end, they always came through. They were always believing in me. If I said something, if I said something with enough self belief, then they would be convinced. So it was more about even me finding out what I wanted to do. So I don't blame them at all for not being convinced in the beginning, because I wasn't, and I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. So I could my own indecision influence them, or must have influenced them. And that kind of thing gets transferred, especially between parents and children. Like if I am worried about something, if I am scared, or if I am indecisive, they will sense that, and they will kind of go off that. So it was a lot of talking. It was a lot of, sometimes fighting. But through that process, I think I kind of figured out what I need to do, because it gave me more clarity, and like I knew that I had to consider their perspective. I cannot just dismiss their perspective. I had to consider their life experience, their perspective, what they thought, and all that had to be taken into consideration when I ultimately decided, what I was going to do.
Yeah, and I think that's a sensible way of doing it, right? You get experience and wisdom free of cost. You might as well listen to it
Yeah.
and then consider it before you take your final decision.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you went to the US. You studied sound design.
Yeah.
Uh, did you also do any other subjects related to music?
Yeah, so the great thing about being in college was I could do so many things. I took classes in anthropology, I took classes in English, I took classes in sound design and synthesis and music recording. So I pretty much had a lot of freedom. And between all that, I was good, I was going to all my classes, so I was connected with my professors, and a couple of professors specifically who really helped me a lot. And I was also living with musicians, and these were like some of the best musicians that I had ever seen. And
In your dorms? You're talking about
yeah,
in the
in the
dorms?
dorm. So like the first week, I think that I arrived at USC, I was living in this thing called the music floor
Okay.
in the dorm. So
Okay.
everyone on that floor was a music major, a performance major, or a sound design major, or a recording major. So they all played music, and I was just walking down the corridor, and I could hear this person playing the most amazing classical guitar I'd ever heard, just like that on the sofa, and like not at all like it was nothing. So when I woke up the next day in my dorm, I heard my roommate, who is now one of my closest friends, he was playing this song by Pink Floyd that I loved and singing amazingly. So I think I found that community that I was looking for.
Wow.
It gave me a lot of hope, a lot of reassurance that I've come to the right place. And more than classes, more than professors, more than anything, like it was the people that I met. And
That shaped you.
yeah,
Wow. Wow. And yet you chose to come back to India, where
yeah.
everybody seems to be dying to go overseas.
Yeah, that was a really hard decision, honestly, but and it's something that
And why was it hard?
I think it's something that I'm still thinking. Like, I don't know the answer to this, but in my last year, I just felt this inexplicable kind of. Uh, I was drawn to coming back, and
Interesting.
I loved like all my friends there. A lot of my friends were American. They were, they were born there, and I loved them a lot. But I don't know. There was just something about being back home. I just knew that I had to be back home, play music here, find my own voice. Because there I was doing well, I was playing good music, I was, doing good professionally, but I felt like I didn't have my own voice.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
So, I don't know. It's just, I knew that I needed a complete change. I knew that I had to come back. I had to be around where I grew up. I had to be around people that I grew up with, and kind of find my own way in this music thing. Because I don't know. I felt this urge that I had to do it, and it's something that I don't think I can describe.
You know, it's so heartening to hear a young person talking like this because when I was perhaps your age or younger, then the place to go would be the West.
Right.
And if you were smart and you were intelligent and you had studied well, then you had to go to the US and settle down. And if you had to get married, you had to get married to somebody in the US. And for me, my home in my country was always the most comfortable place to be. I have never in my life felt the urge to go and live somewhere else. And I felt that maybe it's a part of my generation, but I see a lot of young people voluntarily wanting to come back and be in India and find their voice in very different ways within the Indian context.
Yeah.
So for me, it's reassuring because I think for us to move into the next generation and be smarter and brighter as a country, as people, we need sharp Indians to come back. And it's nice to see that you chose to come back. But you chose a career which is not easy. So tell me about the days of struggle, because music in India, in Delhi, from day one, did you become financially independent, or did you have to face a lot of rejection, getting pushed around? And what do you do to really earn money? These are some things I would like to know from you. So, your struggle, when is it that you became financially independent, and what do you need to do to earn money?
I think coming back, like when I landed back in India, I gave myself 2 months to relax, and then after that, I had to think about what I was going to do now that I'm back, and I knew that it wasn't just going to be as easy as playing music, and that's going to be it. Even though that's what maybe I would have loved, but that's not something that is going to be suitable for me to be independent, because I knew that I had to be independent, I had to be by myself, and then kind of continue my journey. So there was a year where I was living with my parents. I was just doing guitar classes, I was teaching music, and not really financially independent at all. And then I figured out that I need to compose music and get into the video format. And that's along with my friend Utkarsh, who I still work with. We figured out that if we do that, if we start making music for videos, if we start making music for ads or companies, then that was going to give us like the financial security to go and do whatever we want otherwise. So I started doing that, and it started with just asking people to let me make music for them for their videos. And I knew a couple of people who were directing. They were making short films, and yeah, I kind of asked them if they would want to have us do the music. So the it started off with that. And in terms of the difficulties, I think I had a few good early experiences that gave me experience in doing this in this format. But I was also fresh. I was like, this was my first time doing this, so both of us, like, we made a lot of mistakes. And when you're dealing with people who are giving you their art or their work to kind of work on, it's really overwhelming, because you're responsible for it in a way. So those early mistakes and all, they were not at all happy with me about that. And there was a lot of, oh, why are you doing this? Why couldn't you just, stick to the brief, do this, do that, do that? And I am coming from a place where I was making music and everyone was like, great, to now people being like, oh, actually, this is not going to work for us. In college, what was like, where people would tell you, okay, maybe you should do this way, maybe you should do this way. When you come out of that, it's like really cutthroat. If you don't land it, if you don't land the brief, then they move on to the next one. And you don't get paid or anything. Like, it's just like, oh, like sometimes no response or stuff like that. And those early experiences, like, kind of showed me how it's going to be.
So I'm hearing you saying that for someone who had so much of independence in the kind of music they made themselves, suddenly they were being told what to do, and they were being told this is good or not good.
Yeah.
Why did you do it then?
Um, Both of us knew, like me and Utkarsh, and again, it was so helpful to have him, because if I was alone, I don't know if I would have handled it the same way.
Okay.
And again, this was my being like, I need a team. I'm not going to be alone. I need a team around me, because when someone is telling you that you're shit or like this is not working, you need someone to be like, you know what, it's actually not that bad, we can just go again. And or like, oh, they don't know, but let's go again, let's try this, let's try to find the brief, let's try to find it.
And you did it for commercial stability,
Yeah,
financial
absolutely.
stability.
Financial stability. I knew that I had to move out. I had to be in my own place. I needed to have a studio at my new place, and I needed to be able to, live by myself, because I couldn't live at home doing the stuff that I wanted to do. I wanted a studio, and I couldn't really have that. My grandmother gave me a room where I made a tiny studio in that first year, but I knew that I had to move out of that room pretty soon.
That
Yeah.
was nice of her.
Yeah, no, she's amazing. She's like, along with my parents, she's always been there
Wow.
supporting me
Wow.
throughout.
And while you were with your parents and you wanted to set this up, did you have to save a lot of money to set up? Because I think musical equipment costs a lot of money, right?
Yeah,
So you saved up for it?
yeah. So I think I have kept everything I have owned since I was a kid. So everything that I had, I hoarded it. And I made use of it like since I was in 10th grade when I bought my electric guitar. I still have that. So I saved up everything, and as projects kept coming, when I was living at home, I would buy another synthesizer or I would buy something else.
So money is important for you.
Absolutely.
Because the stereotypical view that we have of a musician is somebody who's so much into music that nothing else matters, and they live, eat, drink, sleep music. But I'm hearing you saying that you need the money to get things going.
I think there is some truth to that, about having those limitations, because there is no end to this. Like, there is no end to how much equipment I could get or how much money, would be useful. It would all be useful. Like, from, 1 lakh to 1 crore, you could make a studio in 1 lakh, you could make a studio in 1 crore. There's no end to it, but it is definitely, I always want to explore what are the newest things in technology, what is happening, stay up to date with what's happening. So you need to be financially sorted a bit to kind of have those things and kind of be on the edge all the time, and not fall back into what's happening 10 years ago or something.
So you've done teaching music, you've played in bands, you make your own music, you do ads, you do music for short films. Has there ever been a time in your life where you've said, oh shit, I've made the wrong choice. I should have done something else?
I don't think it's about having done something else, but every day I think that, okay, is this really it? But then it always is, like, because you just have to keep going, and it's just about always, if you keep going, then you will be successful. If you stop, that's when you fail. Or if you stop doing it, that's when you're not doing it anymore. But if you keep doing it, there's always going to be a next thing to move on to. That's always been my motto, is just like keep going, not like never stop, and always do the things that make you happy, and but also that give you the security to be comfortable in who you are, not
Yeah.
just always doing things for the instant gratification or for what makes you feel good in the moment, but for what will make you feel good as a person, believing in yourself, like knowing yourself.
It's interesting you're saying this because uh, I'm given to a lot of self-doubt as a personality. And I tend to say, have I done enough? Have I achieved enough? Should I have been doing more? So these are things that have always played out in my mind. And I think I so resonate with what you say, where you say you just keep doing it every day. The discipline of saying, I'm going to go back and do it. I'm going to go back and do it. That is what makes you successful, and not the fact that you're extremely talented or you're extremely gifted. because it's just that discipline of not giving up that makes you achieve something. I know that I've been running a company for 30 years now, and there are days I wake up in the morning and say, after 30 years, okay, I say, could I have done it differently? Should I have done it differently? Have I done my best? Was this worth doing at all? All those self-doubts riddle me. And I think the idea is to sweep it all aside and say, you made the choice, you just make that choice work. So then I've always believed there are no good or bad decisions. There are only decisions that you keep at and you make work for you, they become good decisions.
Right.
Decisions that you make but you don't make work for you become bad decisions.
Right.
So what the point that you said about just keeping at it
Yeah.
is what makes all the difference.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And I think that goes for really anything. Even when people are writing a song and I'm producing a song for them, I always tell them, like, there's no right or wrong decision.
Yeah.
You got to make it work in the
Yeah,
song.
yeah.
You got to make it work in what you're trying to achieve. And as
Absolutely.
long as you keep working at it, you will arrive.
Yeah. You may arrive a little late,
Yeah.
but you will arrive.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
so true. And also very interesting, when you were talking about the way that you have to make things work and your journey towards financial independence, the one thing I remember, and I don't remember who said it, but they said being wealthy, the true sign of being wealthy is being able to do what you love. That means you've taken care of your basic needs and you can do what you love. Do you think you're anywhere close to that, being wealthy in that sense of the word?
I think I am. I think I'm very, in that sense of the word, absolutely. Because I am able to do what I always wanted to do. And every day I think I feel grateful that I was able to do this with everything, kind of aligning with my family, with everyone who's helped me, with all my friends. And I feel extremely grateful that I'm able to do what I wanted to do.
So you are grateful and you are making progress. I know you have a band called Green Park. And I also know that you work at these films. Does that go under any brand name?
No, I think it's just been word of mouth. It's just me and Utkarsh, my
But
friend.
do you have a little company? Do you have a brand name that you're looking at creating?
We have been thinking about it, but up until now, it's just been word of mouth, people, calling us who already know us. So it's always been in the pipeline. We're always trying to create something. But as of now, I'm just creating under my own name.
Okay. So here is a thought.
Yeah.
And since we are bridging the gap,
Yeah.
I think from a point of longevity, if this company which makes music is going to be important to you, as it'll fuel a lot of things like Green Park,
Yeah.
it is extremely important to put structure around it.
Absolutely.
So you may want to consider corporatizing it,
Yeah.
for want of a better word. And you obviously have a lot of great advice at home on how to corporatize it.
Yeah.
But it might just make sense because from a customer point as well, it makes sense if it's seen as an entity and not just as two people trying to make it work.
Right.
So I'm leaving that thought. That's my unsolicited bit of advice.
No, I was going to ask you about that anyway.
So go ahead and ask me.
Yeah, that was because we have tried a couple of times, and kind of the thing with that is committing to a brand or something has been so hard for us. Every time we try to do it, it's we kind of don't understand. Even though I can do that in a band setting much easily, much more easier to form Green Park or to form that. I know exactly what art direction I want to take or what kind of logo I want to have. It's been much harder for me to sort of bridge that musical corporate kind of structure.
I think so. The logo and all is secondary.
Yeah.
But the fact that you're going to be a structured body, delivering the very best to a client, will also help you ramp up, will also help you add people to your team. with skill sets that are way better than yours, and who want to do it not really for the music aspect of it, but for the money aspect of it.
Right.
So it might be worth your while to start saying, how do I make this into a small service providing enterprise where we're looking at doing the very best for our clients? Uh, we could, of course, talk about it over a cup of coffee, which you will buy.
Yeah.
Okay. But I think you might want to take a look at it.
Right.
Because then you are creating in your mind a completely different setup in the area of commercializing your skill set, and there is that part of your skill set which is purely passion play. And you'll find that as you grow, you will be able to add more people to your commercialized venture without feeling like you're selling your soul out.
Yeah.
Because as a musician, you might say, why am I doing this? Yeah, this is not even true and real. But it'll help you deal with that better.
Yeah. I think it comes down to the team and yeah, as you said about adding people who think differently.
How does this play out in relationships? Because is a young music director and a musician the ideal uh, partner? Do you face challenges with potential partners, parents? How does it play out for you socially and relationship wise?
I think it's not so much a concern to me because I know that people who I'm with, they know it from the beginning what it is. So I am not concerned about that as much. I feel like it's just I have to have belief in who I am, and I cannot be with someone if that part of it is questioned, or if that is something that's a question mark, because then that relationship is not going to work in the first place. So I have to be honest from the beginning and I have to be true to who I am. And if that's something that can go forward, then great. If not, then we'll leave it at that and maybe not waste time.
Makes sense. Makes
Yeah.
sense. Have you had relatives who've come along and try to give you advice on beta, start doing something proper in life? ये क्या कर रहे हो? बाल क्यों इतने बड़े हो गए हैं?
Not really. I think family in my family, everyone's been pretty great. I have had people look at me a little funny, but I think I stopped being bothered by that a long time ago.
Okay.
Maybe it got to me, in my right after school or something like that.
Okay.
But as I became more financially secure, as I became more independent, then I was like, yeah, this is honestly amazing. Like, I would want everyone to have this kind of life.
So are you savvy with money? Do you save? Do you invest? Do you do all that?
I am trying to be better at it, but honestly, like my dad and my brother, I just, ask them what to do because,
Makes sense.
Yeah.
You have free advice.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense.
yeah.
Wow. A musician's life can be pretty lonely. Sometimes it can impact mental health. You could get down, you could get tremendously moved by something could trouble you a lot. So I buy a lot of art, and you very often see that artists are going through periods where you can say that this is the dark period in their life, where their art form just kind of completely transforms into something which is sad and depressive. As a musician, and I know you're also a poet, there's that sensitive side to you. So, what do you do to protect your mental health and stay buoyant in the midst of rejection, people telling you what to do with your music, and this is not what we wanted, not getting paid sometimes? How do you manage this entire process of staying
I think
buoyant?
I think it's definitely very difficult, and not just as a musician. I think anyone would go through these phases in life. For me, what's been really helpful is having people around me who I trust and who I love and who I can go to for anything. So anytime that I'm feeling this way, I know that I have people who I can talk to, and they'll tell me, they'll kind of ground me. They'll tell me that, okay, don't worry about this, we'll go on to the next thing, or, they'll help me see things in a larger picture. Because when I'm going down this spiral, I am often looking at it in a very funnel down kind of way, where I'm only focusing on the really bad part. And as you open up and you talk to someone about it, and then even in that process of maybe talking to them about it, you realize, oh, maybe I should be looking at it, zoomed out a bit. And as soon as you zoom out, maybe just in that process of talking, you realize that what you have to do.
And you're so spot on, because I remember I told you I went through a little bit of this, or maybe I didn't share it with you. I went through a little bit of a health crisis. And
Right.
I think it's one of the best things that happened to me. I realized that there were so many people rooting for me. I had so much of love and care coming my way, which in my regular life, I may not even have been exposed to, or you take it for granted.
Yeah.
So I love this concept of zooming out from that singular problem that you're seeing.
Yeah.
And of course, you have Kinu and Papita, your two cats.
Yeah, they're tremendous. I mean, they're my favorite beings. Like, they help me be grounded just in my routine. I wake up, I know I have to feed them. I know that I have to play with them. I know that I have to take them out on the balcony. So I know I have to do all these things no matter what I'm going through. I have
Yeah,
to do
yeah.
that. And that will ground me, and that will sort of, give me that zoomed out perspective that, okay, you're going through this, but
These are the things
these
that
are the
have to be
things
done.
that have to be done.
And well said, because discipline always brings in some kind of day to day discipline,
Yeah.
always helps you ground when things are not going too well.
Yeah.
My own thing in my how do I say it? My little tip to stay afloat is when work is not going well, I focus on family. And when
Yeah.
I'm having fights with family, then I focus on work. Because I believe the good of one area will flow into the not so good of the other.
Yeah.
By osmosis, instead of letting both become bad, I focus on one and make it better so that the good flows into the other. That has been my technique for surviving some tough times.
Yeah, that's really helpful, because not only that, it's just like taking some space away from a bad thing.
Yeah.
It makes you realize that, okay, now what's important in that thing? Like what?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, your journey is so personal, and yet I think it's very relatable by a large group of people. I mean, we have an entire, I don't know, maybe two generations between us, but I can relate to your journey at a lot of levels. So I want to end with something that's going to inspire a lot of our viewers and me. What's next for you in your music and in your life?
Um, it's a really hard question, but I think what I really want to do is to just take Green Park, which is my band, international. I want to go tour the United States. I want to go tour UK. That's what makes me the happiest, is whenever I'm working on that music, whenever I'm working on our live shows or on our music videos or anything. Yeah, so I just want to kind of step out of this country and go a bit further.
Okay, so take the impact of your music further than just
Yeah,
this country.
to as many people as possible.
But hopefully come back home.
Always be back home. Yeah.
That's nice. Okay.
And yeah, that's what our music is also always about. Like growing up here, listening to, people like Pink Floyd, Bruce Springsteen, or whatever. They're singing in English, but we're growing up here. And that sort of relationship between those things. So,
I hear you.
yeah.
And there's also the kahona pyar hai in between.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Wow, that's interesting. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much.
I think there is a lot that I have taken out of it personally. Very interesting, your perspectives. And though we're doing such different things in such different generations, I think there are so many leitmotifs that are common to both of us. So thank you for bridging the gap. It means so much to me that you were here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And that was the amazing journey that we went on today. A small, young, nerdy, shy kid becoming a musician and living the dream that he wants to live and believing what he believes should be his life. If you want to follow more of Siddharth's music and his band's music, the band is called Green Park, 2 words. You'll find them on Spotify. I have read a lot of Siddharth's poetry and I find that it's absolutely outstanding. If you've liked this episode, because it is a wrap now of this episode, if you've liked this episode, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And do follow us on Gen Zen by Chrysalis, both on Instagram and YouTube. If you know somebody else who can be featured on the show because of the inspiring life they lead and their life can ignite young minds, do let us know. We'd love to host them. Till then, till our next episode, stay sweet, stay zen. Bye-bye.